What's going on there, YouTube? Welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, so we're going to continue our coverage over Night Quest. Now, when it comes to Night Quest, as we all know, it is technically the second part in the whole Knightfall trilogy. Now, we already covered the first two chapters of Night Quest, but the problem was the ending of the last video, we saw Jean Paul Vally about to kill off Tim Drake, and we were left to wonder, is Tim Drake going to die by the hands of Jean Paul Vally? Here's the big problem though. Night Quest does not pick up where we left off at. We actually have to jump over to the ongoing Robin series. Let me explain. So in 1993, DC realized that Tim Drake was very popular to the point where they said, hey, let's go ahead and give Tim his own book. Bam. The first Robin ongoing series. And the first issue of the ongoing series actually does pick up where our last video left off at, to kind of see Jean Paul Vally and Tim Drake continue to battle against each other in Batman's Batcave, and to see what the outcome would actually be. Now, just in case you're new to our coverage over Knightfall, Night Quest, and Night Sin, by this point in our coverage, Bruce Wayne got his back broken by Bane. It was a big moment in DC Comics and Batman Comics, but with Bruce Wayne now being seriously injured, somebody else had to step up and become Batman, and Bruce chose Jean Paul Vally. Now, when it came to Bruce, him and Alfred actually left to go find Jack Drake, the father of Tim Drake, because he was kidnapped by some random thugs. And so while Bruce is gone, he made sure to leave Gotham in the hands of Jean Paul Vally. But here's the big problem though with Jean Paul Vally. You see, for Jean Paul, he was part of a group called the Order of St. Dumas. Now, I'm not going to really sit down and talk about the Order. I really want to focus more on the idea of Jean Paul Vally. Now, when it came to the Order of St. Dumas, they had a character known as Azrael, their avenging angel. Anytime somebody tried to cross the Order, they would send out their avenging angel to take care of that person, Azrael. And Jean Paul was technically Azrael, but only for a short period of time, because as soon as he did became Azrael, well, he met Bruce Wayne, and Bruce said, hey, why don't you go ahead and join the Bat family? And just like that, he did. But here's the big problem for Jean Paul. It's something called the system. You see, before Jean Paul became Azrael, his father was the previous Azrael. But here's the big problem though. His dad died in battle, but he made sure his son would be ready by using something called the system that was implanted into his mind to make sure that Jean Paul will be perfectly ready to fight, but to also have all knowledge of the Order of St. Dumas, to easily step into the role of Azrael. But the problem is sometimes that system will take over Jean Paul's mind and body. And so currently we see Jean Paul has become a whole lot darker, to the point where he had made a brand new Batman suit, a brand new bat suit. But on top of that, he's now more ruthless towards his criminals. Now, in our last video, when it came to Jean Paul, he was confronted by Dumas, where the whole entire order actually worshipped. And Dumas tells Jean Paul, you need to turn yourself into a demon if you want to actually save Gotham City. And that was a big moment in our last video. But now we can actually dive into the first issue of Robin's ongoing series. Now, like I said earlier, this does pick up where our last video left off at when it came to Night Quest, where you have Jean Paul trying to kill off Tim Drake. Now remember, by this point in our coverage, Jean Paul is not trying to work with anybody at all when it comes to other heroes in Gotham, and that includes Robin especially. So Robin has been banned from the Batcave because Bruce and Alfred are not there. They went out in the world to find Jack Drake, the father of Tim Drake, and they left the Batcave to Jean Paul. And so Jean Paul said, this is my Batcave now, and I don't want Tim around at all. But the only reason why Tim is there because he got his license, and Batman made a vehicle for Tim to drive once he got his license, which he has now. And so he came to Batcave for the license, and that's really it. Now, we're seeing right now that the system has taken over the body of Jean Paul's, his mind and body, and that is why he's trying to kill off Robin. Now, once you have Tim being able to break away from Jean Paul snaps back to reality and realizes what he was doing was completely wrong, and he's crying out for help. But for Tim, he's kind of like, nah, I cannot help you. I want to leave right now. And so Tim is able to get the vehicle he came looking for, and he leaves the Batcave. But you have Jean Paul still crying out for help, kind of telling us that he's trying to fight against the system. But now we have to jump over to the Speed Boys. Now, the Speed Boys are going to be the main bad guys for today's video. The Speed Boys are a small-time gang in Gotham City that goes around stealing different kinds of cars to then sell the parts of the cars for money. Now, we do learn the Speed Boys do have clients from around the world who are asking for different kind of cars or car parts for their own personal needs. And so you have the Speed Boys trying their best to please their clients. Now, we do jump over to the Gotham Heights Country Club, where we see the Speed Boys being able to get a handful of high-end cars and getting the heck out of there before the security guards are able to stop them. Now, something else I do want to mention is that each member of the Speed Boys, they do have a code name, and their code name is some kind of color. But either way, the Speed Boys were able to steal a good amount of cars to sell on the black market, or to their clients, sorry. Now, because this is going to be Robin's solo series, we have to build a supporting cast around Robin. So we do get the chance to meet a character known as Sebastian Ives. And Sebastian is a close friend to Tim Drake. And really, this is Sebastian asking Tim about hanging out later on in the day. But Tim says no. And the reason why, because, well, he has a date tonight. Because around his time in DC Comics, Tim Drake had a girlfriend, and no, it was not Stephanie Brown. And that would be Ariana Dezerchenko. Now, Ariana, she comes from Russia. Now, originally, she came to the States with her father, but her father was murdered. And so she had to move in with her uncle and aunt. Either way, she's currently dating Tim Drake. And so we kind of see Tim and her about to head towards her date for the night, some kind of mixer. And we do learn the actual mixer does take place at Tim's school at Gotham Heights. Now, you do have Tim being able to hang out with Ariana until they run into Carl. Now, Carl is actually the school bully, or the most popular kid in the school. Now, for Carl, when he sees Ariana, she becomes his main goal, even though he has his own lady at the moment. But either way, he does invite Tim and her back to his place, even though we already know that his main goal is Ariana. Now, for Tim, we do learn here that it really does bother him a lot that he is not able to use the vehicle that Batman had made for him, because that vehicle was technically only made for him to use when he is Robin, not outside of being Robin. So for Ariana and Tim, they had to take the bus to arrive at this mixer. And Carl, well, he is somebody who has his own car already. And so for Tim, it really does bother him seeing Carl, the school bully, being able to brag about the idea that he has a car. Now, he's also mad at Ariana because she does mention the fact that Tim does not have a car. And it kind of bothered him a lot because he does have one, he just can't use it. But he does express his anger in the wrong way by yelling at Ariana, and she runs off mad at him. Now, Tim realized that he had completely messed up. And so for Tim, he goes out of the gym to hopefully find Ariana to apologize. But the problem is, when he gets outside, well, the Speed Boys are back again. And they're now stealing a bunch of cars that belong to kids at this mixer. Now, you do have Carl trying his best to stop one of the members of the Speed Boys, but he almost gets shot. But luckily, Tim was able to save him just in time. Now, for Carl, he does get upset with Tim because, well, the Speed Boys were able to get away with his car. Now, after you had the Speed Boys leave, you do have Ariana find Tim, and they're able to apologize to one another. But for Tim, now he knows he has to take care of this certain problem, the idea of the Speed Boys. But now we pick up with Stephen Smith, or better known as Shotgun Smith. Now, Shotgun Smith first appeared in Detective Comics number 428. Now, for Shotgun Smith, he was actually part of the GCPD. The problem was his methods were a tad bit too extreme for Commissioner Gordon. So you had Gordon tell Batman to keep an eye out on Smith. Now, over the years, you have Batman and Smith realize that they could work together. Now, there was a point where Smith was actually accused for corruption, but luckily for Smith, you had Commissioner Gordon step in and say, no, this man right here is a good man. There's no way that he is corrupt. Now, for Smith, he still hated the GCPD, so he left that and joined a different department, better known as the county sheriff. Now, for Smith, apparently he was assigned to figure out how to capture the Speed Boys, and so currently that is his main goal. But now we have to jump over to Blackgate. Now remember, when it comes to DC Comics around this time, there was no Arkham Asylum. It was being repaired because in the early parts of Knightfall, well, it got blown up by Bane. So we jump over to Blackgate Prison and pick up with 4 prisoners. And that would be Cluemaster, Cypher, Konzunk, and the Electrocutioner. Now, these 4 characters, they're currently in a session with their psychologist. And you do have our 4 bad guys here being able to overpower him very easily. Now, I want to focus on Cypher because we had actually talked about this character in the early parts of our coverage over Knightfall. Because Cypher has the ability to hypnotize people with music. And so for Cypher, it does seem like he's going to use music as a way to hypnotize their psychologist to basically help them escape from Blackgate Prison. But getting back over to Robin's main goal right now is to find the Speed Boys. And so you have Robin being able to get into Redbird. Now, Redbird is the name of the vehicle that Batman had made for him to use when he's out there being Robin. And so you have Robin using Redbird to hopefully find the Speed Boys somewhere out in the middle of Gotham. Except while driving around, he realized that somebody is following him, and this person begins to hit him off the road. Now, once you have Tim get out of the Redbird, he's then confronted by, well, Shotgun Smith, who is currently pointing a shotgun in Robin's face, trying to arrest him because, well, Shotgun Smith here believes that Robin is one of the Speed Boys. Now, something I do want to mention about Shotgun Smith is that he actually appeared before Crisis on Infinite Earth. As we all know, Crisis on Infinite Earth was a major reboot for DC Comics. Because before Crisis, he knew Jim Gordon. He knew Batman. He actually worked alongside Batman before. But post-Crisis, it seems like he never met Batman because he tells us that he read papers about Batman, but that's really it. He also heard about Robin, but he still can't believe that Tim Drake is Robin. Now, you have Tim being able to find a way to get rid of Shotgun Smith so that he's able to get back into Redbird and continue his hunt for the Speed Boys. But still, for now, Robin knows that he might have somebody down the road coming after him, and that would be Shotgun Smith. But getting back over to Blackgate, we do see the prisoners we met earlier beginning the process of actually escaping from the prison. You see, you have Cypher being able to hypnotize their psychologist to actually help out with their escape. And so just like that, you now have 4 prisoners on the loose who could cause some more problems in Gotham City. And the question is right now, will Tim be the one to stop them, or will it be Jean Paul Vally, who's currently Batman in Gotham City? But I want to shift our focus back onto Tim Drake, and here's the reason why. So you have Tim on the phone with Ariana, where you have Tim telling Ariana that he has to cancel on one of their dates once again. And the reason why, because he has to go deal with the Speed Boys. Now, she has no idea that he is Robin, but he does tell her that he has something else to take care of. Now, while she's having this phone conversation with him, she's near her uncle and her aunt. And her uncle is not liking Tim at all. The way he's kind of just dodging all her questions, the way he's not really trying to hang out with her. So it kind of shows that Tim might have some issues when it comes to building a relationship with Ariana, especially when it comes to her guardians. Now, you do have Tim tell Ariana that he has another call to take, and that call would be Alfred. Now, this is Alfred kind of checking in on Tim Drake, making sure that Gotham is okay, but also seeing how Jean Paul Vally is doing. And we can also say that this is Alfred wanting to inform Tim that Bruce and Alfred are getting close to figuring out where is Jack Drake, the father of Tim Drake. Now, when it comes to Tim, he's not trying to tell Alfred anything at all when it comes to Jean Paul. And really, he tries his best to hide the fact there's something wrong. But Alfred can tell there is something wrong. He knows Tim, but Tim says nothing is wrong. It's just Jean Paul, but you know what? Everything is okay. But he should have told Alfred, like, no, Jean Paul has gone off the deep end. Y'all should get back here. But he wants Bruce and Alfred to continue to find his father. But getting back over to the Blackgate prison, we do see our prisoners still trying to escape, but we do see Cypher being killed off by Clue Master. Now, the Clue Master, he found Cypher very annoying, but at the same time he knew that Cypher could not be trusted at all, because most likely Cypher would use his ability to control the minds of the other prisoners. Now, Cypher was a true D-list character, and the reason why I'm saying that because this was his last appearance ever in DC Comics. He only appeared 5 times, and this was the final time. Now for Tim, his main goal is to find the Speed Boys, but his bright idea is to just drive around the area hoping to actually run into the Speed Boys. But the problem is Gotham is just way too big for you to easily run into the Speed Boys. And so for Robin, he says, you know what? I have to find their chop shop. Now for Tim, he realized the Speed Boys must have a lot of clients from across the world, which means that they have to ship out their shipments overseas, which also means their warehouse must be at a pier nearby. And so for Tim, he was able to figure out which pier the Speed Boys are most likely at. And bam, just like that, he found their base. And so the rest of the book is really more of Robin being able to kind of show us, the readers, that he can do things on his own. Now, technically, there are already 3 different Robin solo series by this point. They were all mini-series, but it kind of showed back then that Tim was actually capable of handling things on his own. And so for the rest of this book, it's kind of like a reminder that, hey, Tim is going to be okay without Batman. Tim is going to be okay on his own in Gotham, taking down all these different bad guys. So by the end of this section, we do see Tim being able to take down the Speed Boys and hand them over to Shotgun Smith. Now, Shotgun Smith does get a message that was left behind by Tim to basically say, hey, it was me, Robin, the guy you stopped earlier, who you did not believe was actually a good person. This is me telling you I am a good person, and I just helped you out by capturing the Speed Boys. Now, the last page of the book is really more of Harvey Bullock and also Renee Montoya finding out that, well, Clue Master and another group of bad guys had escaped from Blackgate and now back in Gotham City. Now, their main focus is Clue Master, and the reason why, because Clue Master had almost killed off Renee and Harvey the last time he was around, which means that now he has another shot to take them out. and that could be a big problem. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.